Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to No Capes Required. I'm Scott Merida, he's Jason Reyes, and this is a show where we're going to talk about all types of superhero news, from movies to comics to TV shows to everything else. You can get it here on No Capes Required. You ready? Do it. Let's talk about the movie that everybody is talking about. This was a huge week for Marvel, and one of the biggest reasons why it was a huge week is because they finally dropped the Avengers 4 trailer. Everybody's been waiting for months and months and weeks and months for this trailer to come out, and it delivered. The trailer actually made history. Yes, by becoming the most viewed trailer in history with 289 million views in 24 hours. Jason, everybody's been speculating, hungering, patiently waiting for this trailer. What did you think?
First of all, I couldn't believe that the trailer dropped soon, because I heard rumors that it was going to drop a little later. So I was surprised to see it. I thought that they were going to work on it a little bit more. I saw it. I was pleased, excited. I can't wait. And it's just good stuff, man. Glad Marvel's putting it out.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what I really liked about this trailer was the tone it set. Everybody is just so depressed, and it's sad because, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, I mean, you have to see it by now. But, spoiler warning in case you haven't seen it. Thanos gets all the Infinity Stones. He snaps away half of the universe, like he said he would in the beginning. And, and with everybody's friends and family gone, I mean, obviously, like, anybody who is left, who has survived, would be upset and distraught and everything. I mean, so you see Captain America, who's usually the shining symbol of hope. He was crying in the trailer. You saw Iron Man, usually, whimsical and everything. He is completely depressed and looks like, he's ready to die. I mean, so you see all these characters, even the ones that are incredibly upbeat, all distraught, except for maybe Paul Rudd at the end with Ant-Man. But I guess Ant-Man's always, got spirit or hope. But, the second thing I really liked about this trailer was Hawkeye. Or should I now call him Ronin? I mean, they made him look like a boss in this trailer. I know that sometimes he is, the most slept on Avenger, or, the most criticized because he can only shoot arrows. But this trailer, he looks like he's about to do some damage, Jason.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by him. I can't wait to see him. I'm not one of the ones that sleep on Hawkeye. I've always thought he's been, really, really clever and cunning, and he just finds a way to work it out, even though he's not super. So I'm really pumped to see him, this new look.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, in the battle against Thanos, I'm thinking he might bring the arrows back as well, but he's also gonna bring some swordsmanship in there too. I can't wait. I mean, obviously he's still nowhere on Thanos' level, but he'll, he might be able to, take out some of his goons. I mean, depending on who's left. I don't know how they're going to work with this movie, but, one more thing to mention about the Infinity War trailer. We learned two new things. One, the movie is actually coming out in April. So a lot of people, it was supposed to come out in May, but obviously, like last year's Infinity War, it looks like they moved it a week up. So it'll most likely now be coming out in late April. And, in the month of April, definitely, most likely late April. And, that's, I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
No, the sooner the better. Hope it comes out next month.
But then, I want it right now. But another thing that we learned was possibly that there was a glimpse in the trailer that people have been talking about online where it said, it shows everybody who's missing. It shows Paul Rudd, which obviously we know that he finds a way to, come back. Spoiler alert, he's in the quantum realm in Ant-Man and the Wasp at the end of the movie. We see Spider-Man on the screen, but we also see Shuri, who many people, including myself, thought had survived the snap. Does this mean that with her on the missing that she didn't survive the snap?
I don't think she survived the snap.
Wow, yeah, it's just that she's a major, I feel like all major characters, like, they would show them, like, disintegrating or fading away. But I don't know. Maybe they just forgot to include Shuri. I don't know why not, because Shuri is awesome. But I mean, the point is, I can't wait for this movie. What this movie holds. I can't for all these new characters, especially that we didn't see in the first Infinity War, like Ant-Man. He's probably going to be doing some stuff. Obviously, we talked about Hawkeye, Ronan, and of course, Captain Marvel. Speaking of Captain Marvel, her second trailer also dropped this week. Maybe it wasn't as, talked about as the Avengers Endgame trailer. I mean, it's Avengers. So, but still, I think it was heavily viewed. A lot of people saw it. A lot of people are excited about this movie. So, what did you think about the second trailer for Captain Marvel?
Thought it was okay. Didn't really do much for me. I thought it was cool. That's it.
Yeah, just cool. It's cool. I'm excited.
You got
for
the
it.
obvious. You got the cool effects and all that, and her suit looks pretty cool. But for some reason, the trailer just didn't move me, and that's kind of tough because the Infinity Wars trailer is out. So.
Well, now we have to call it Endgame. I was just saying, that
Endgame.
we revealed the title that everybody's been speculating about. But yeah, no, Captain Marvel. Look, yeah, it's not going to necessarily wow you as much as the Endgame trailer. But it's also a solo superhero movie, whereas Avengers Endgame is literally all the Avengers in one movie. So it's not supposed to, but still, I think it looks cool. My favorite parts of the trailer were obviously the special effects, showing her almost as like in her quote unquote Super Saiyan mode, her hair flying and she's glowing, and the end scene where she's just like taking out all those battleships with ease. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, no, and one villain that I was hoping maybe a little bit to see in that trailer, maybe just show a glimpse of him, is Ronan, just because I know he was a one-time villain. I'm glad that he's coming back now, because I feel like even in Guardians of the Galaxy, he was a very underrated villain.
He was awesome. I love Ronan.
Yeah, no.
So I'm pretty pumped. I am pumped for this movie. I can't wait to see him in action again.
Yeah, look, I think one thing that we did know is, I wish probably I knew more about Ronan, was more about his motives to really, or his hatred of Xandar, because we know that in the Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like, okay, he wants to wipe out Xandar, and he hates Xandarians for whatever reason. I want to, I guess, know more about why that is. So maybe Captain Marvel will give us a glimpse of that.
I hope, because honestly, I don't really know too much about Ronan. The Guardians of the Galaxy movie was my introduction to him, but I just fell in love with his character, his look, his demeanor. I'm a villain guy, so I'm glad to see it back.
That's the one thing. We don't really know who the main villain is. We know who the main villains are. I know, like, she's supposed to be battling the Skrulls.
Yeah.
But we don't know who, that central... Because we know in every superhero movie, there's a villain fight at the end of the movie. Look, obviously we know Captain Marvel is going to bust up some Skrulls. But I don't know, is she going to fight, like, a Skrull leader? Or is it really Ronan that's going to be the main villain?
I think it's Ronan, because Ronan is tied to Thanos. So he has to play, like, a key role in this movie.
Look, I would love it because, we already know that Ronan is a badass. He can definitely take on really strong opponents, Captain Marvel included. Well, that's the thing that we have to, like, see how powerful, that I'm excited to see how powerful Captain Marvel is, because in the comics, it's like she's really strong, but she's not, like, necessarily, like, on the level of people like Thor.
That's how I remember her. She was just really, really strong, but she didn't have, like, super projectile powers and nothing like that I remember in the comic.
Well, yeah, I remember her being able to fire energy blast, but I'm just saying, like, I don't remember her being, like, more powerful than she is. But in this movie, and what, Kevin Feige, I think, has said, is that she may be the most powerful, hero that they've introduced, which is crazy because we saw how powerful Thor was at the end of the movie. So I'm a little bit skeptical whether she'll actually be that powerful. But if she's on par with that, that's still pretty insane. I can't wait to see her movie.
Yeah, me too. I think that I think she, she'll be that powerful, but she's probably gonna have a really easy Achilles heel. Like, she can't be juiced up like that all the time. I think it's temporarily. She could power up, but I'm pretty sure that she won't be able to keep it up that long, because if not, the movie would be lopsided.
Yeah, and I think what makes this movie really cool is that besides the fact that this is Marvel's first movie with a female protagonist.
Woohoo!
Yeah, go ladies. But is that a lot of people don't know, or the average superhero fan, I don't think, knows too much about Captain Marvel and her backstory and everything. From what I know, and I'm still learning myself, I'm getting comics and trying to research myself about Captain Marvel. But from what I know is that her backstory is very similar to Green Lantern's. Now, I don't want to spoil anything for you who just want to see the movie and learn about it then, but I think, what I learned about her backstory, it should be, a pretty cool flick. Some more great news for Marvel came this week when Black Panther was nominated for a Golden Globe, and not just any Golden Globe, but for Best Motion Picture for a Drama. Now, fun fact, Jason, do you know what the last comic book movie to be nominated for a Best Picture category in a Golden Globe was?
I don't think it's ever happened.
It's happened 2016. It was Deadpool, but for the Best Comedy Musical category.
Okay.
So it has that. Yeah, I mean, Best Picture for a comedy musical, but yeah. So this, I mean, for Best Motion Picture Drama, the thing that why it's getting so much buzz is because usually, I mean, a good amount of films that do get nominated for Best Picture for a Drama do end up or at least a good amount of them ends up being nominated in Oscar time. We saw with, obviously not a comic book film, but, Get Out last year. I mean, so that's why I'm going to ask you, Jason, are we finally, with Black Panther, are we finally going to get a comic book movie nominated for Best Picture for the Oscars?
I think so. I think it's time. Black Panther was great. It was a game changer. Why not?
Yeah, this is such a difficult question because I've seen this before where a really popular superhero movie where critics loved and fans also loved and seemed to break records at that time, everybody thought it would get nominated, ultimately didn't, and that was The Dark Knight. Obviously a completely different tone of the movie. It was a very, much darker tone. I know you're one of the few people that had some issues with Dark Knight.
Yeah.
But I mean, and Black Panther's obviously a different tone, and the cultural movement that it set is almost unprecedented.
That's why I think it'll happen.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen.
Just because
the movement is so strong now. Everybody's into this whole comic book universe world. So, and I think a lot of the critics are taking it more seriously. I don't think they really took superhero movies that serious back in the day. And now it's time.
That the Golden Globes have obviously made it sure that the Academy will at least think about it during their nominations. Will it end up? I don't think so. Jason does think so.
I think so. You heard it here first.
Okay.
No Kings apart.
Okay, so now it's time for our hero grades of the week, where we will be grading anything from past movies to future movies to characters, anything related to superhero stuff, we could be grading it. But for this week, we will be grading 2 movies that haven't even come out yet. We'll be giving predictions for 2 characters that in some ways are rather similar to each other or have a connection to each other, even though they're from different universes. And that would be Captain Marvel and Shazam. What is their connection, you ask? Well, Shazam was actually Captain Marvel originally, so that's what he was originally called. He then changed the name because they probably didn't want to be associated, with, their rival company. Exactly.
I think they were going to get sued.
There might have been some, technicalities there as well. I mean,
yeah.
but it had something to do with Marvel, ultimately. And so now that there was a Captain Marvel up there, it's like, why not call Miss Marvel, who was Carol Danvers at that time, why not have her have the title of Captain Marvel now? So that's sort of the connection between the two characters. They were both Captain Marvel at some point. And since they both have big movies coming out in 2019, we will be giving them grade predictions. So how we think these movies are going to turn out. We'll start with the now Captain Marvel. Are you ready, Jason?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, flip. Oh, so we're on the same page.
I'm going out on the limb.
Yeah. Look, I just think that when you have Marvel has always, at least, they've done very few bad films, I think, in the MCU. If we're just being honest, like, even if you think that they're okay or good, not great, I would say there are very few bad films. I mean, Thor: The Dark World probably would be, like, in that bad category.
One of my faves.
Yeah, but the thing is, Thor: The Dark World, I mean, no offense to DCU fans, but it's still better than a bunch of the DCU movies.
It is. It is.
So, I mean, that just shows you how good the MCU has really been. And considering this is going to be their first movie with, a female protagonist, I don't think they can mess it up.
No.
I think, they're just going to put so much time into it to make sure that Carol Danvers' story is told the right way, that it has great action, a great story. And Brie Larson, the actress that is playing Carol Danvers / Captain Marvel, is an Academy Award winner. I mean, we were talking about the Oscar before. She does have an Oscar for Best Actress. So we know that she's a capable actor. We know that Samuel L. Jackson is a capable actor. They're bringing back Agent Coulson. They're bringing in Ronan. I think it's going to be really good.
Has all the ingredients to be great.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that not much else to be said, right?
Yeah, I think we're spot on this one.
Okay. So now that we've gone with one Captain Marvel, it's time to talk about the OG Captain Marvel. What grade will we give for Shazam now? Are you ready?
Ready to go?
All right. 3, 2, 1, flip.
Shazam.
Ooh, okay. So you want to give why you think it's going to be a C average?
Not impressed by the costume. I'm huge on the costume. He has a big thunderbolt, lightning bolt, and it's glowing, and it's just not appealing to me. He seems kind of goofy. I understand he's a kid in a man's body, but I would think when he turns into Shazam, he matures a little bit, and I just don't see that in the trailers. I hope I'm wrong. I'm a fan of Shazam, so let's just hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, look, I think Jason's opinion is very reasonable. I mean, look, the lightning bolt, I will say about that's how his new look is in the comic book. So if you want to blame anybody, I mean, you can blame them. I guess you could also say that could they have changed just the lightning bolts from shining just to a regular lightning bolt? Sure, they definitely could have. They could have definitely. And I agree that, the glow is looks a little bit cheesy. Yeah. But this is the reason why I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Shazam will be DC's the DCU's second best movie, only behind Wonder Woman. Because I think DC obviously has let down a lot of its fan base, or a lot of fans of comics that really want to go down, Jason included, with their movies. They really only struck gold with Wonder Woman. I think, Man of Steel was also good in my opinion.
I love Man of Steel.
I think could have been better personally, but I still think, it's definitely their second best movie. But every one of their movies other than those two has really been a strike and a miss. And my thing is that eventually you've got to hit one out of the park, right? Eventually you've got to have a good movie. I'm a little bit skeptical about Aquaman, but with Shazam, I think that when you see Zachary Levi's Instagram posts and, Twitter and everything, he's having such a good time with this movie. The cast is having such a good time with this movie. And I think that's because they know it's going to be good. I feel like when you have that type of optimism in your casting among your, main actors and actresses, you have a feeling that this movie is going to do wonders. Now, that's not always the case, but But I just think that eventually DC has to land one right, and I think Shazam will be its hero. Because, I mean, it looks fun. It looks like a superhero version of Big. I think it'll be a little bit different, you know, and Shazam, I think, is a very cool character that if you can get right, you can make a really good movie about it. A kid being in the body of a god, you know, that's a pretty cool concept in my opinion. That's why I really liked his character. And I think in some ways Shazam will be sort of DC's Spider-Man because, like, you know, he's a kid, he's sort of living sort of a kid's life, but he's younger than Spider-Man though. He's like, Spider-Man's a teenager, so Shazam is a little bit younger than him, but I think sort of that same concept of having this, you know, bright, you know, very positive, you know, youth superhero, I think it's going to be pretty good. But, you know, we'll just have to see.
I hope you're right and I'm wrong. Go Shazam.
Shazam. So now we are going to our Twitter question of the week category. If you've been following Zero Capes Required, first off, if you haven't, go follow it at Zero Capes Required. But if you have been following, you would know that we had our Twitter question of the week this week, and it was, who would you choose to DJ your party? Jason came up with it himself. I thought it was an amazing topic choice, and so far the options were Star-Lord, Quicksilver, Deadpool, and Harley Quinn. So, and the final results are in, and the winner is Star-Lord with 50% of the vote. Deadpool came in second with 36%, and then Quicksilver and Harley Quinn split for last at 7%. Are you surprised by these results?
Not at all, bro.
Yeah, I guess I thought Harley Quinn would maybe get a little bit more love. I understand Quicksilver, maybe his music taste is a little bit fast, and plus in the X-Men movies, you know, we've only seen him like listen to Sweet Dreams and, you know, that Time song, so yeah. But I don't know, Harley Quinn I think would have a pretty diverse music taste. I think Deadpool would be really cool DJ too, but I'm not mad at Star-Lord. I mean, music is kind of his thing. I mean, he would be playing a lot of throwbacks, but a lot of good throwbacks.
Yeah, I think people slept on Harley Quinn.
Yeah, so you think she should deserve more than 7% of the votes?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But now our Twitter question of the week this week. Obviously, we've been talking so much about Avengers, Captain Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this Avengers Endgame trailer has us really wondering if the Avengers do defeat Thanos, who will play the most key role? And so that will be our Twitter question of the week. We've got 4 options between these heroes. So obviously it could be a hero that's outside this list, but for the purposes of this Twitter question, out of these 4 heroes, who will play the most key role in defeating Thanos? Should they defeat Thanos?
Should they defeat?
Yeah. So first option is Iron Man. Second option is Thor. Third option is Ant-Man. And the last option, Captain Marvel. So between those 4 choices, who do you think is going to play the most key role?
I think it's going to be Ant-Man.
Oh,
I think that it's, you know, Thanos is going to be defeated due to a technicality. And out of those, you know, choices besides Tony Stark, which is usually on the front line, I think it's going to be Ant-Man. I think he's going to come from behind and, you know, do his thing.
Nice. Yeah, no, look, I think Ant-Man is going to play a major role in this movie. I think all 4 of these options are going to play a major role. I think it's going to be Tony Stark, and here's why. Because, like you said, it could be, you know, we're talking about most key, so it could be that one of these Avengers, like Captain Marvel or Thor, ends up being the one to kill Thanos, but maybe not be like the most key role in defeating him necessarily. And because remember at the end of Infinity War, Doctor Strange said that he wouldn't, well, initially he said that he would not sacrifice the Infinity Stone for Tony Stark or Spider-Man.
Right.
What happened at the end? He gave him the stone. He did the exact opposite thing of what he said in order to spare this man's life, referring to Tony Stark. In my opinion, and he said before he passed away, it was the only way. So that, honestly, that makes me think that Tony Stark is very important, whether he's the most key role or not. He's very important in the Avengers' victory, because if not, Doctor Strange probably would have given him the stone. But out of all those millions of outcomes, he saw only one in which they win, and probably the only one that he saw out of those outcomes was when he gives Thanos the stone in order to save Tony Stark.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so that's my opinion. Jason says Ant-Man, I say Iron Man. Personally, I hope it's Thor that ends up killing Thanos, just because I feel like it's only right. It was his mission in the movie, and I feel like that would be cool. You know, I think Captain Marvel's going to play a huge role, as all of these heroes, including possibly Captain America as well. But, you know, we didn't have enough options for him. But let us know who you think will be most key by voting at Zero Capes Required. This concludes the show. I hope you had a blast. I did.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end now, if you want to follow Jason, it's at I am Jay Sinatra on Twitter. He, you know, makes some music besides, you know, just talking about superheroes. Cool guy to follow. If you want to follow me, follow at Fly to the Sky 11. I talk about sports, sneakers, as well as superheroes. So, you know, if you want any of that content, be sure to follow me. And, of course, follow our Twitter site at Zero Capes Required. So, this concludes the show. I'm Sky Meredith. He's Jason Reyes. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care.